Hello, I'm Rachel Lancaster. I am the founder of Magnificent Midlife, which includes the Magnificent Midlife Members Club, our free group called The Flock, a podcast called Magnificent Midlife Podcast, and also the online magazine The Mutton Club, which was quoted in the Huffington Post as being one of the top 10 or 12, 10 I think, top sites for where you could get help with menopause. So I thought I'd come on today because I loved last week's coverage on the BBC of their menopause programming throughout the whole week, in fact, on the breakfast program. I thought it was really, really good. I was so utterly delighted that there was a positive slant to it. It started off the first day, this is an empowering time in a woman's life. So long as you don't fight it, you embrace it. So I really, really enjoyed that. But as the week went on, I did start to chunter at the telly a bit, as I'm wont to do when people are talking about menopause, because as usual, there was a big focus on HRT. There was a big focus on fixing menopause, and I don't believe that menopause is something to be fixed, and I'll explain why in a moment or two. They did a little snippet on exercise, I think it was on the last day, on the Friday, which was great, but there are so many other things to try. Now, if you're watching this, please say hello. It'd be lovely to know if you're there, because if you don't say hello, I don't know you're there. So put a comment in the comments, say hello, tell me where you're watching from. So I'm on here today. I just want to do like this download of everything I know about the menopause. So why do I know quite a lot about the menopause? Well, I went through early menopause at 41. I'm now nearly 53, and I like to reassure women that it's all going to be okay. It may be a nightmare, but there are things you can do to help yourself. There are methods and natural remedies and all sorts of things that you can use to try and make things better. So I wanted to come on and talk about those today. And the very first thing is, I genuinely do believe that the way that you approach menopause will influence how you experience it. If you approach it as something to dread, if you've spent years thinking, oh God, I'm going to be a shriveled up old prune and it's going to be an absolute nightmare, then it may be that. Not just for that reason, but it's not going to help. Whereas if you approach it as like puberty in reverse, it is a very natural part of a woman's life, and that you are going to come out the other end feeling fabulous, full of energy to do all sorts of things. You'll be off the monthly hormonal roller coaster. You won't have to bleed ever again. It's fantastic, honestly. And life will be okay. So I sort of built in Magnificent Midlife and the Mutton Club and all of these things what I didn't have and what I really felt I needed, because at 41 it was a massive shock. I wasn't expecting it, and I bought into that narrative, that it happens to much older women. I felt catapulted into middle age, and it wasn't until I sort of started analysing this and thinking about it that I realised I was actually being ageist against myself, because at the age of 41 I was pretty much smack middle in the middle of my life, wasn't I? I was, if average life expectancy is 81 in the UK, at least at 41, I was pretty much there, wasn't I? So now I don't have a problem with being midlife. I actually love being a midlife woman. I'm proud to be a midlife woman. If you are there, do say hello. If you're menopausal and you fancy putting your hand up and asking a question, feel free, because I'm doing this now today just to do a sort of download of everything I know, because I watched that program on the BBC last week and it was very, very good, but it made me realize there is still so much to do in terms of raising awareness. So the first thing I'm going to say is menopause does not happen in your 50s. Well, it does. It kind of does. The menopause is a point in time. The menopause is 1 year. Hi, Sharon. The menopause is a point in time. It is 1 year after your last bleed, basically. So it could be a day. The period leading up to menopause is perimenopause. And that can start anytime. On the BBC programming last week, there's a bee just flown into my office, which is very annoying. So if I start darting around, it's because there's a bee here. there was a teenage girl going through menopause. And when I went through mine, hi Odette, good to see you. I'm talking about menopause. I'm doing a download on everything menopause that I know, that I've learned. So when I went through at 41, I actually didn't have any symptoms. I hadn't even noticed. I clearly wasn't bleeding, but I hadn't noticed. I was a little preoccupied with my job, I think, which is one reason why it came early, I think, because it was all too stressful. So I then made contact with an organisation called the Daisy Network that works with women who have early menopause, and most of them were a lot younger than me. Actually, 41 now doesn't really feel that young to me in terms of early menopause, but it was diagnosed as that at the time. If you have a question, by the way, please do ask me. Odette says, I'm not going to know when I hit menopause as I have the Mirena coil. Yes, it's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know quite what the answer to that is. Just, you know, go and have it removed at some stage and then see what happens. But anyway, so symptom wise, I was kind of all right. I was advised to go on HRT to protect my bones and heart. In retrospect, I don't think I would do that again, but I did it then because I went for a bone scan and I was found to have borderline osteopenia in my hip. So I thought, right, suck it up, Rachel, and take the HRT. But personally, I always prefer a natural option. And this is where I do get on my hobby horse, because I don't believe that menopause is a medical condition. It's a matter to be discussed with medical staff, yes, but it's not an illness. It's not something that we need to take medication to cure. It is a natural part of life, just as puberty is a natural part of life. And I know that there are many things we can do to make sure that we transition vibrantly through menopause so that it's not this great big awful thing. And I also know it will be awful for some women, but it doesn't have to be. And there are many things you can try first. So try them all first. And then if those don't work, go and get the HRT. And the first thing I'm going to say is the big elephant in the room, which is never discussed. If you are overweight, you are going to have probably a bad experience of menopause. And I actually believe that that is why women in other cultures, particularly East Asia, there are many reasons why I think they don't have the bad menopause experience that we have, certainly here in the UK. There's alcohol, there's sugar, there's caffeine, there's levels of exercise, but I think weight is a big part of it, because if we are overweight, we're likely to not have a good menopause experience. So I'm just throwing that out there. That is the big, that is the big elephant in the room that people don't talk about. Exercise is massive. We need more exercise the older we get. Exercise is a brilliant way of helping with menopause symptoms. It is just fantastic. So what do? I run at least 3 times a week. I'm currently running daily. Don't know how long that's going to last. Not very far, just one little loop around the park. It's about 3 kilometers. That's all it is. So I'm trying to do that as regularly as I can. I stretch every day. So I either do some sun salutations, or I do a bit more of my yoga routine, or I do Tibetan rites. I haven't done those for a while because they were making my neck hurt. So I stopped those, but they were fun as well. But do some sort of stretching, because our muscles need that, our bones need to be exercised, need to be stretched. Let me just have a look at the comments. Sharon says, this is for Odette, knowing symptoms of perimenopause can help if you're on the Mirena coil. Listen to your body, what's different, if anything. Yeah. Brenda Lee. Hello, Brenda Lee. Yay, I have an odd question about menopause. I stopped everything when I was 36, now 52, and I haven't experienced any symptoms. Am I good? So, Brenda Lee, presumably you're not bleeding? You are not overweight, Odette. I have seen you going round an ice rink. You're not overweight. That's not what I mean. I mean, women who are really overweight. Okay, Odette, you're not overweight. The other one should be the envelope in the room, not the elephant in the room. That's so funny. You're hilarious. Anyway, okay, back to my topic. Right. So what else? What have I done? Right. So when I first went through early menopause, I didn't want to go on the HRT. I had consultations with Dr. Marilyn Glenville, who is a nutritionist who is very, very big in women's health. And she told me to stop the alcohol. She told me to stop sugar, no caffeine. And she put me on a special tincture, and I actually got my periods back for a period of 9 months. Unfortunately, she didn't also tell me that getting them back wasn't probably going to last very long, and that my body would resort to doing what it had wanted to do before, which I do believe was related to me having a very stressful job and career before that. But I did get the periods back, not enough to give me the baby that I desperately wanted. But it taught me the things I need to do for good hormonal balance. So I haven't had any caffeine since then. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy tea. I have wonderful Clipper organic Assam tea, decaffeinated. I don't have dairy milk. I stopped dairy milk completely. I have yogurt and cheese, but don't have dairy milk. I actually believe, this is another one of my beliefs, I believe that the only creature that should drink dairy milk is a baby cow. Okay, so that's a bit radical, throwing it out there, but that is what I believe. I don't think our bodies are designed to consume milk. I think when it's changed into yogurt or cheese, it's more digestible. Our bodies can cope better with it. I have no scientific proof for that, although there probably is some out there, but I listen to my body and I know what my body likes. So I have organic soya milk every morning for breakfast, and I have ground flax seeds on my cereal every day. And I really believe that the soya milk and the flax seeds have enabled me to control the worst of the menopause symptoms, certainly in terms of hot flushes, plus the no caffeine. Plus, I try to restrict sugar. I have a really bad chocolate addiction, but I try and get the dark chocolate. So that cuts out the milk and a little bit on the sugar. I'm hopeless with alcohol. I know I shouldn't drink it, but I love myself a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. I really do. But when it doesn't happen now, I'm lucky now. I think things have settled down and stabilized more now. But when I was more menopausal, if I had alcohol, I would have a hot flush. I also know hot flushes are stress related. So if we meditate or we use mindfulness techniques and we ground ourselves, then we can have less hot flushes and the intensity is lower. There was a BBC documentary that talked about this and actually did a test of a group of women on CBT techniques, basically. And the women were found that they could, by using CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, they could reduce the number of hot flushes and they could reduce how intense they were when they happened. So a lot of it is up here, girls. And that's another elephant in the room. You know, it's where I started, isn't it? If you believe you're going to have a better experience of menopause, if you embrace it, you're likely to have a better experience. I really believe we've been dealing with our wombs all our lives. Most of us, often have difficult periods. We've had pregnancies, we've had this, that, and the other. Midlife is not the time to start fighting our wombs. It's the time to embrace this change in our lives. And I think it's wonderful. I really do. I mean, I think menopause is fantastic. It has been fantastic for me. It has radically changed my life. I wouldn't be doing what I do now if I hadn't had an early menopause. So what else can I recommend? So I was on HRT until I was 51, normal menopause age. I then came off it. I stayed on the vaginal pessaries. I did use those for a while, but my prescription has run out and I haven't renewed it. So technically, I may or may not be on a form of HRT, but if I use any of it, it's only the vaginal pessaries, and they do help with vaginal dryness. I have heard that vaginal dryness is worse if you've not given birth vaginally, and I didn't. Somebody described what I did as the sunroof version. So I did the sunroof version, and yeah, it has been challenging. But there are wonderful lubrications out there on the market. I would recommend Pure. There are wonderful things you can do, like self-pleasure, which gets blood down there, which brings sensation back there. There are amazing little vibrators. I have a little egg one which goes everywhere with me, which can get me going. And then, once you've got yourself over the sort of hump, technically speaking, then you can sort of, go with the flow after that. And there's all sorts of ways. I mean, for example, in the members club, my members club, we have a couple of wonderful, wonderful workshops, one on pleasure and one on intimacy. And the pleasure one is all about just taking it all back to pleasure, taking the pressure off and taking our experience back to giving pleasure to our intimate partner, and working on the level of intimacy. And that can be emotional intimacy as much as anything, reconnecting, because many of us in midlife, we may have been with our partners for a long time. I'm on my second marriage, but it's still 14 years I've been with him. So it's a long time. And things can get stale, can't they? So I'm just going to go through the questions and comments now before I'm wittering on a lot, I know. Odette says, really useful information, Rachel. Thank you. I get so frustrated because I see the level still of lack of knowledge, and because I know so much, I'm like going, come on, I know all this stuff. There is so much that we can use. So she said, I did the back of the boot version. What's that? What are you talking about, Odette? What's that? Sharon says, me too, 2 times cesareans. Oh, you did the sunroof. Had the most awful vaginal dryness. Omega-7 and omega-3 can really help. Yes, omega-7. Those, the buckthorn, sea buckthorn tablets, they were good, weren't they? Did you have that, Sharon? I had those. I'd forgotten about those. Yeah. So there's all sorts of things. And, just coconut oil. It's bloody good stuff, coconut oil. You can use it for cooking, for moisturize. I use it. I wash my face with it. I use it for cooking. So I take off all my makeup with coconut oil and then a hot flannel. I use it if I don't have a moisturizer around. It can be used as a lubrication. And it's brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. What have we got here? Back of the boot version, not sunroof. Is that like a non-C-section then? A normal birth? Is that what you're talking about? Odette, what are you talking about? I don't know. So, okay, so where else do I need to go with this? So I've done the CBT, I've done the flax seeds and the soy, meditation, massive. I am not as disciplined with meditation as I would like to be. But if you think about the issues that we have in menopause, and a lot of women, they feel like they're going mad because they're suddenly so anxious. And I get that. And they attribute it to hormones. I get that. It is hormonal changes that are doing that to us. So anxiety, insomnia, brain fog, mood swings, all of these things. But not so much the brain fog. I think sometimes we just got to accept the brain fog and just go, oh, it'll pass, it'll be fine. But the other things, anxiety, insomnia, can all be helped so much by meditation and mindfulness. And you know this, Odette, because you know a lot about mindfulness, don't you? But if we can just ground ourselves and bring ourselves back to a calmer state, if we can recognize that just because we think something doesn't make it true, and we can slow our breathing down, we can do yoga, all of this will help with the midlife menopause anxiety. It's all going to help. So this is what I mean. A lot of women this is what I've been finding in the last week, because I've been out on Twitter and I've been talking about natural remedies and all of this, and people have come back and they've just been, people who are on HRT are really very often, they're very strident about HRT. And I am not saying no HRT. I was on HRT. I personally chose to come off it, and I personally choose to manage my symptoms naturally. But what I really, really want is for women to have all the information, and I don't think they do. And they think, okay, they'll take black cohosh, or they'll take evening primrose oil, or whatever it is, and nothing changes. That's not a surprise. What you need is a package of things. So for me, my package is running, yoga, meditation when I remember, no caffeine, soy milk instead of dairy milk, it's the flax seeds. And by the way, the flax seeds, Susie Grant of Alternative Aging, who has written on the Mutton Club website about this, I'll put the link to it later, but she says soak the flax seeds the night before and then drink either just the water or the water and the flax seeds. If you have the flax seeds unsoaked and whole, they will go straight through you and will do nothing at all. Okay, so you've either got to grind them or you've got to soak them. And Susie says soaking is by far the most effective form of natural HRT she's ever come across. And in, actually, let me put this article in. This is her article on food for menopause symptoms. And this is just brilliant. She's got so many things and ideas, you know, that are potentially helpful. And having a good diet is massive. Okay, so any more questions? If you have a question about menopause, I'm here doing a big download on everything I know because of my early menopause at 41, which is over a decade ago now. It's all right. I love being post-menopause. It's great. There are things that can help with everything, really. So on the night sweats and the hot flushes, sage tea is also supposed to be very good for hot flushes. So if you've got a garden or you've got somewhere you can have a potted plant, put some sage there or buy a pack of sage in the supermarket, make yourself some sage tea. Some women have literally seen an instant improvement in their symptoms by having sage tea. Black cohosh is another one. Chamomile tea. I'm really big on the soya. I know a lot of people are not keen about soya. They're not sure about the soya. Personally, I'm convinced that it has helped me enormously. And certainly, I don't want dairy milk. I really, my stomach just does not like dairy milk. So, any questions? Let me have a look. Sharon says, work stress and life stress can play a major part in symptoms, as you've mentioned. Difficult to keep in check sometimes. Yoga had helped me to reduce cortisol. Cutting the crap has helped me. Caffeine, refined sugar, alcohol, processed foods. Soaked flax are fab. A hug in a mug, great for our gut. Yeah, they are, aren't they? They're absolutely brilliant. But this is the thing, it's a package. You know, it's not, we have to look at all aspects and see what is going to be the right thing in our package that's going to help us vibrantly transition through menopause, and hopefully not have, you know, most of the really bad symptoms, or if we do have them, you know, it's only for a short period of time. We can, you know, change things up to make sure that, you know, we're in a better position. So I also have this rather wonderful natural menopause relief checklist. We went away and we found over 60 different natural remedies. So there's something for everybody. So I'm going to put that link. You have to sign up, but you know, I think I've done the work. You can sign up and give me your email address. You can always unsubscribe later. But so I've put that link in the comments as well. In fact, I'm going to pin that comment. But yeah, go try these first. And if they then don't work, go for HRT. But don't just go, oh, well, HRT is going to cure my menopause. Somebody said, I heard somebody saying, I've got menopause. It's like, I've got a cold, I've got menopause. Menopause is not something you get. It's a stage you're in. That's what it is. It's not an illness. It's not something that needs to be cured or fixed. You know, it's something to embrace and live with and manage, often quite easily. Because you might think, you know, I was devastated when I went through it at 41. It meant I couldn't have that longed for second child that I really wanted. I wanted ever since he was born, and he's now 21. But on balance, you know, my menopause experience has been a very positive one. It has brought much bounty. I can genuinely say that has brought much bounty to my life. And, you know, I've had vaginal dryness, I've had hot flushes, I've definitely had anxiety more than before, I've had aches and pains. You know, some people say, well, when I talk about natural symptoms, I think they assume that I had an easy menopause. Well, it probably was a lot easier than many women, But coming at 41 wasn't particularly easy. But I have put in place all of these things to help me transition. I've gone and found out, and I've got all of these things to use. So any more questions? I'm here. I'm just doing this sort of everything I know about menopause. Yeah. I might take a breath, have a quick drink of water. I've been talking very fast. Any questions? Any questions for me? If you're watching on the replay and you get to this stage and you do have a question, put it in the comments. Tag me if you can, put at Rachel Lancaster, and I will go back through the comments. I will do my best to answer for you. So, don't assume it happens in your 50s. If you're feeling, if things are changing in your 40s, that's completely normal and natural. I think now it has changed actually in terms of people. The doctors wouldn't have tested. Well, they tested me because of finding about fertility. That was why I was tested. And I think they don't now generally test hormones if you're in your 40s. And who knows now what the diagnosis would have been. Back then it was, you've gone through menopause, you have the profile of a post-hormonal woman, which was pretty devastating and shocking at the time. Sharon, thank you very much. You advised talking to a medical herbalist. Yeah, there's lots of herbs, and a lot of them are on this sheet. So, yes, that's very good tip. And also, yeah, I have an article about that. I have an article about everything, actually. Hang on a minute. So, yeah, on the Muttern Club website and on Magnificent Midlife, we have a whole section on menopause. I'm just going to go and get my herbalist article. Alcohol's a biggie. If you're having hot flushes and you drink a lot of coffee and you like your alcohol and you eat sugar as well, then it's not really surprising if you're having a tricky time. Where's that gone? Where's that gone? Can't find it. Herbalist. Here we go. How herbal medicine can help relieve menopause symptoms. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Sorry, it's going in the comments. Right, I think I have told you everything now. Talk very quickly. You're very welcome, Odette. Very, very welcome. I just want people to know. I find it so frustrating that women don't know this stuff. And I just want them to know so that we can all make choices. And the thing is as well, is that I believe menopause is a time in our lives when we get this chance to reevaluate our health and to put in place things that will enable us to thrive long term. I don't think it is just stuff that we need to do during menopause and then that's it. I really think this is menopause up. This is good hormonal balance long term. I'm never going to go back to drinking dairy milk. I'm almost certainly never going to go back to caffeine because I love not being dependent on caffeine. I don't have that dip that I used to have after lunch every day because I need a cup of tea or coffee to get me going. Don't like coffee really, but anyway. So any more questions? Oh, let me scroll down. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Okay, so if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to wish you a very good afternoon. It's been ages since I've come on and done a live, but I just want to get this information out there. And if you are watching on the replay, Sharon says that they will test if you're under 45. Oh, will they? I thought somebody told me that they didn't do that anymore. Oh well, there you go. Thank you very much. Right, I'm gonna head off now. I hope that was useful. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. I'm just trying to think. But yeah, so think of menopause as nature's wake-up call to get your health sorted for long-term vibrancy and health so that you thrive, not just survive. And as I'm always reminded by people and my staff and everything else, not people, yeah, that I really should mention the Magnificent Midlife Members Club at the end. That is a chance to make midlife magnificent, basically. And I have information, I have a workshop on menopause in there. But if menopause is dealt with and is, if you approach it in the way I've been wittering on about for the last half an hour and use all of these things, hopefully menopause becomes a small part of your magnificent midlife. And what my members club enables you to do is all of the other stuff. You know, when we're off the hormonal roller coaster, when we're not a slave to estrogen anymore, when we're more balanced, when we're on more of a level playing field with men and we can go out and do whatever we like, and we're not so consumed with nurturing others, so that we can actually start nurturing ourselves and looking after number one, because then everybody will benefit and we can go on to have a magnificent next stage of life. So I will just bung the link in there. I never have it up. Ready. If anybody wants to go and check it out, go and check it out. It is quite brilliant. Odette is a member. She knows how brilliant it is. There you go. So thank you very much for hanging out with me. I hope this was useful. Any questions, please ask them in the comments. Even DM me, I don't care. You know, you can ask away. But I just want to get this information out there. I think it's absolutely crucial that women know this, and that women realize they don't have to take drugs for something which is not an illness and not something that has to be fixed. It needs to be managed, yes, but not fixed. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye-bye now.